If you like ducks, dogs, training, deer hunting, anything outdoors, then this is the podcast for you guys. This is the Flying V Podcast. I'm Thaddeus Bass. I'm your host for this beautiful ride, and I'm assisted by my co-host, Mr. Chang Moore Vang. You can tune in every week and join us as we talk about anything and everything under the moon that you guys want us to talk about. Some facts, some fiction, and a whole lot of opinion. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let's hop into it.
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to 50 States of Waterfowl. And this week, this is an episode I'm really excited for, guys. If you guys have been listening to the podcast or if you follow the channel at all, you know my home state is Indiana. I was born and raised in Indiana. That's where I grew up, spent my entire life until joining the Marine Corps and leaving. So when I realized we had to do someone for Indiana, I don't want to do it because you guys hear me every week talking about all this and that. I wanted someone who would be a great representative for this podcast. And I reached out to Jordan from Duck Gun Chronicles, the Duck Gun podcast. Great guy, awesome content that they put out, amazing podcast. He's got an awesome YouTube channel. I can't say enough about him. And he generously said, yeah, I'll hop on, man. So we're going to be going through Indiana with him. And like I said, man, I'm super excited, guys. This is really, uh, it sounds silly, but Indiana it's a special state to me. That's where I'm from. So, I think we got the perfect guest to represent it. Before we hop into it with him, though, guys, I just want to say thanks for stopping back by. I hope everyone got to enjoy their Thanksgiving week. Hopefully, you guys all had some good time with your family and whatnot. Hopefully, you got to get after some ducks or some deer or whatever you're into. We took the week off. I took the week off from YouTube and the podcast and everything, just to kind of decompress and spend time with the family, train some dogs. And then Vang is out this week. We're not going to have him, go figure, but he's in Hawaii or something. I don't know. We know he's not duck hunting in Hawaii because we've already covered that. But we'll have him back next week, hopefully. So we're going to go ahead and hop into this. Can you hear me all right, Jordan?
Yes, I can.
All right, man. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, dude, it's my pleasure, really. I kind of briefly introduced you. I'm sure most people, if they're listening to my podcast, they're probably already a fan of the Duck Gun podcast. But if you don't mind, man, just go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, man. Yeah, I'm a duck hunter from Indiana. I am the creator and host of the Duck Gun podcast, as well as Duck Gun Chronicles on YouTube. So my co-host over on the podcast is Elliot from Freelance Duck Hunting, one of my good buddies. So a lot of fun stuff going on with all that content. But no, I mean, if you ask me who I am, man, I am a duck hunter through and through, and I just love it. I love the grind of it. Love getting out after it, and this time of year is the best time of year because we're out there and hustling, getting after it. So I can't complain about that.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, man, like I said, I appreciate you giving me a little sliver of your time. I try and stay up with Duck Gun Chronicles and stuff, and it's like you always have a new project going on over there. So
Almost to a detriment.
yeah, I mean, so it's like every time I pull up my phone, it's like, oh, he's got a school bus, he's got another boat, he got rid of this boat, and he's got a different boat, and just like, man, this guy, I always talk on here. I'm like, man, I'm just so freaking busy. I'm always complaining. And then, I see your stuff. I'm just like, well, at least I'm not that busy. But
oh man, it's a lot of fun though. That's the good thing. Anytime I'm doing any of those projects for duck hunting, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, like you said, just super busy getting after it. And you wouldn't believe it, man. I'm just always my mind's always racing. And for every idea you see, there's about 10 ideas that I have that you didn't see that never made it to fruition. So honestly, I'm a little crazy, but I love it, and it makes for some good content.
yeah, for sure. And I told everyone I've been a fan of Duck Gun Chronicles, man. I've watched your videos for a while. I love the Duck Gun podcast. I hope one day we can get to that level. But you and Elliot, man, both just great people and very entertaining, and you guys provide some awesome content.
Well,
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate it. Kind words for sure. It wasn't too long ago and we were doing just what you're doing and just kind of getting rolling with our podcast. I don't know how many episodes. I was kind of doing a look around on that, but it wasn't too long ago we were starting off on our episodes, and here we are. We're just over 300 now, or
Yeah.
200. I apologize.
Yeah, grinding them out. No, we're we started off and then I decided, I want to do something cool. So I came up with 50 States of Waterfowl. I told my co-host Bang, I said, hey man, so I just he's so hit or miss, but I was like, hey man, I just need you every week. I said, I'll find all these people. Like you don't have to come up with a topic for a whole year. Like I just need you every week to come on. But he does his best. So he's up in Minnesota, and I guess they're on vacation or whatever. But yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead and hop into it. So how long have you been duck hunting, man?
Man, honestly, I have not been duck hunting that long. I'm still an infant in the duck hunting uh, in a way of saying it. I mean, I've hit it super hard. I've done a lot of research on it before I even got into it, but
Yeah.
this is my 6th season of waterfowl hunting, believe it or not. So I'm pretty new to it, but like I said, when I hit something, I hit it 110%, and that's what I've been doing.
Clearly,
So
yeah.
yeah. And the funny thing is, you kind of say like, when did I start waterfowl hunting? But I started, and I have no idea really why I thought this was a good idea. But when I started duck hunting, I mean, the first thing I did was I started recording every hunt and bringing my dog that was 6 months old. So from the get-go, it was just terrible. I mean, I loved it though. I absolutely loved it. But I didn't have anybody to go with, so I was just winging it. And the funny thing is, I mean, how I learned is I was watching Elliot from Freelance Duck Hunting. So and I just got after it, man. You got any guesses? How many, if you had to guess, how many hunts would you say it took me to get my first duck?
Oh, dude, 10?
It took me 11 hunts. Yep.
Oh, that was close. Wow.
Yep. Good guess.
It's
so yeah, it's been a ride and every year, man, I feel like I'm learning new stuff and more stuff, and my style's changing. The things I think are important are changing. A lot of the basics stay the same, but that's the cool thing about waterfowl hunting. And there's just so many different scenarios, so many different styles of waterfowl hunting or places that you can do it. And it just depends where you live and all that, what you have access to, but it's just always something different, always learning. And that's a lot of the fun with waterfowl hunting, is learning and achieving. And then you get the hunts where everything comes together and it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I agree. Like my style changes. I mean, it's like almost every year. Like I just go through these different things. And like you said, I run the kayak and the kayak blind, and that's always kind of been at the foundation. Like that's I love layout hunting like that. So it's always been there, but like some years I'm like, yeah, this is all I'm doing is hunting out a kayak, and other years I'm ditching it, and like you said, everything changes. I mean, I grew up in Indiana, but then living down in Louisiana is the complete opposite style of hunting all around.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
So we're actually going up there towards the end of December. I'll be up there for 3 weeks, and I'm just stoked to go up there and actually start duck hunting up there. And like you said, it's just everything changes. So that's the most exciting part about that trip for me, anyway. Is getting out of the norm that I've been in down here, and actually getting to get back to what I enjoy. So hopefully it's as fruitful as my memories provide. But sometimes your memories can be a little misleading.
For sure. What part of the state are you from?
Southern Indiana, a little town called Mitchell, south of Bloomington, about 45 minutes south.
Nice.
Yeah, not the duck hunting capital of Indiana by any means. We're like just straight South Central. But if you're willing to travel, there's definitely some good spots. I got a buddy who, I guess, just after watching my YouTube channel and stuff, he's finally like, "Hey man, I want to start duck hunting." So we rigged up his kayak, and he's actually going out on his first solo duck hunt up there this weekend, Saturday. So good luck to him.
Oh yeah.
But so what got you into duck hunting then? You said you had no one to go with. I mean,
Yeah, so I mean, if you really talk about my hunting history, I started when I was a kid going with my grandpa for upland game. So my grandpa was a huge upland duck hunter, an upland hunter. He hunted pheasant and quail a lot, did a lot of traveling. I mean, he was just probably as into it as I am.
yeah.
But it was from a young age that I could see him doing that, and so I actually got to go with him every Thanksgiving. We'd go and walk fields, and he'd have about 4 English pointers, and he'd keep them there all the time. And Chief actually is named after one of his dogs. It was his favorite dog,
Huh.
my favorite dog, English pointer, super cool dog. But he named his dog Chief. So first lab I got, there's no question it was going to be Chief. But from that, I got to do that for a little while. Then my grandpa's health, unfortunately, kind of deteriorated with old age, that kind of thing. I mean, honestly, a little bit younger than I'd say most people, kind of in his early 60s. Super
Yeah.
unfortunate for him and all that. And so then the hunting was kind of just gone. Because my dad wasn't a big hunter and they lived 4 hours away. So it's not something I could keep doing. And, from that age, I probably stopped going upland game hunting when I was about 12, 13, somewhere in there. I'm really not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody would know, even if I talked to family. But so I got to do it for 3 or 4 years, upland hunting. It was awesome. Honestly, I don't even know if I shot a bird. I'd shoot at the flocks and everybody else was shooting because my uncles would go, my dad would go, my grandpa would go, and some of his buddies. And there'd be, 4, 5, 6 dogs. And it was, oh man, it was a lot of fun. I loved it. But when I kind of looked into hunting, um, when I kind of got that urge, and I had, what you'd call maybe adult onset hunting or something like that. Like I was in my upper 20s, and or mid 20s, kind of thinking about it. And I'm like, man, it'd be awesome to hunt. And kind of what happened was I inherited the Browning A5 that I shoot, my 20
Yeah.
gauge A5. It's an awesome classic waterfowl and upland gun. And it was my grandpa's gun. It got passed down to me. And kind of a couple things happened at once. I got that gun from my grandpa. He passed away. I got Chief. I picked him up from a local farm. Like he wasn't bred for hunting or anything. It's just by chance I won the lottery with
Yeah.
Chief. I paid $125 for him. And he's a stud duck dog. And
Yeah.
but those kind of things combined kind of kicked me in the direction of duck hunting. And so I kind of looked first thing I did is I looked into upland hunting, and I'm like, oh, there's literally no upland hunting in northern Indiana. And so like, what's the next thing I can do? I'm like, okay, wing shooting, duck hunting. I've seen pictures of duck hunting. I had zero experience. I just Googled it and started YouTubing it, that kind of stuff. Found freelance duck hunting. My good buddy, I don't even know if I'm sure he knows because I've talked about it plenty of times, but it's just kind of crazy when you think about that. Him putting up YouTube videos. Next thing you know, I'm out there duck hunting. And I had a buddy, and him and his dad duck hunted, but they duck and goose hunted. But it was kind of they're more deer hunters, but they really love duck hunting too. So
Yeah.
I just asked him a bunch of questions, but early in the season, he's still trying to get his deer. So he's not, he's answering my questions, but he's not coming. So that's why I got that little section there of 11 hunts in a row where I just go out there. And I went on, I think it was Craigslist at the time because there was no Facebook marketplace. Craigslist, found a
Yeah.
canoe, bought like a dozen decoys. I think they're flambos or something like that, rigged them up. And then me and Chief jumping in the canoe, going up the river, and had no idea. Honestly, it's almost embarrassing to say, but my first hunt, I actually trespassed on accident. So, but the people actually came up that own the land, and it turned out to be a decent situation. So, but yeah,
That's
regardless of all that, like a big, huge learning curve when you get into it like that. Have no idea. Guys, don't bring a dog that's 6 months old. It's not a good idea for you or them, especially if you're not going to be shooting any birds. They're not going to want to sit still that long. So
For sure. It's definitely don't do that. Yeah, anyone listen. And that's and I do some training, and so I get a lot of dog questions all the time on Instagram and stuff, and it's just yeah, guys, don't take your dog in the field until they're ready and matured. I mean, the only thing you're gonna do is just get mad and create bad habits. So, learn from other people's mistakes. I mean, don't do that. But that's quite the tale, man. It's hilarious that you and Elliot are so close now after all that. It's funny how that
yeah,
works out, but
it is. Yeah. So I almost can remember, like I can remember like visually in my mind and like my mind's eye, like YouTubing it and seeing like his thumbnail, like Izzy on a boat, and because that first year, or maybe it was the second, I think it was his first season. Some of those thumbnails, they got their big 18-foot aluminum boat with their kayaks on top and the blinds and Izzy and
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. I almost remember that in my mind. I feel like I do anyway. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, but yeah, super cool how it all turned out.
Yeah, and and what you said, that's the great thing about this day and age. Social media has a lot of downfalls, but for people who are wanting to get into hunting and stuff, that's what I told my buddy. I was like, I could talk to you for hours and hours and try and explain things and teach them to you. I said, but if you got a question, just type it in YouTube. I mean, and there's plenty of people who will teach you the ways, and
Yeah. And watch and
um,
learn, man. It's like, I mean, when you watch a YouTube video, a vlog style hunt, I mean, it's almost like you're on that hunt. It's not exactly, because you don't have to sit through the slow periods and all that,
yeah.
but you can see different situations. You can see how birds are working, how people are ducking down to hide, and like you can pick up a lot of clues on how you should act when you duck hunt. And like for me, it's like, if you're gonna go out there and you've never duck hunted, I mean, there's stuff that you have to learn on the fly being out there, but there's also you can get a big jump start by watching that kind of stuff and learning that way too.
Yeah, definitely. And and on that, he was asking me today, actually. He was asking me earlier, he's like, "Oh, well, I've been working on my call-in, but it's not that great still." And he's like, "Should I when I go out there Saturday, he's like, should I even try calling or should I not try calling?" And I was like, "Dude, I mean, you just got to learn. I mean, I don't it just depends on the birds. I mean, that's the crazy thing about duck hunting too is literally, I mean, every day is different. You could hunt the same hole, and as long as it's different ducks, or hell, it could be some ducks you tried to work the day before. I mean, they just react differently, all the time. And I think that's what's the most fun about duck hunting for me, is that it's just you never know what is actually going to happen. You can try and you have the perfect spread and do everything right and textbook call these birds, and it just sometimes they're not going to do it, and sometimes you don't have to do anything. So uh, that's the fun in it for me, for sure. But hopping into Indiana specifically, man, what would you say? What kind of ducks do you guys kill the most?
Yeah, for sure on Indiana for ducks, I would say that the majority of people are going to say mallards. And we get a good selection of wood ducks early on. Usually until the first skim ice comes. Northern Indiana, I would say that's usually about maybe the second week on average, first or second week of November.
Yeah,
And those birds push out. So I mean, we open up the second to last Saturday of October, roughly around like the 24th. So you
yeah,
have a good like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks to get on the wood ducks. And I honestly, I love that time of the year because some people give wood ducks a bad rap. I'm not one of those people. I love them. They taste great. They look awesome. They work into the set. I mean, I would say you can't call them as well as other birds, definitely. But it's just a different style of duck hunting, and it's fast action, fast pace, and usually it's done in the first 2 hours of a day. But
Yeah.
I mean, those are a lot of fun, especially if you can mix them with some mallards. But even if you can't, man, every year I will make an effort to get after the wood ducks because you can have some really, really fun wood duck hunts. Fast shooting, fast flying birds. I mean, what's not to love about that?
For sure. No, it's and being down here in Louisiana is like one of the wood duck capitals of the country. And I've said it before on here that a lot of people hate on the wood ducks. Like, oh, I'm sick of shooting woodies. But some days and some seasons, man, that's all you got down here is wood ducks. And they'll definitely put a smile on your face. And I can look back and at least two of my top three favorite hunts that I've had down here have been just wood duck shootouts.
Nice.
So yeah, you'll definitely have to come down here sometime, and you would love, just shooting wood ducks right after shooting light in the timber and stuff. It's a blast for sure.
Heck yeah, man. Louisiana looks like a cool state too with the big cypress trees and all that kind of stuff down there. And
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful place down here. Uh, but it is a tough place to hunt,
mm,
which I would never have thought. I was always under the impression that Louisiana was like this duck capital, but with the world changing and global warming and flyways shifting and whatever, uh, I, I think that's starting to change, but I don't. That's a whole nother podcast. You can do a whole series on migration changes.
you definitely could, all that kind of stuff. I would say, man, anywhere in the Mississippi Flyway, it feels like you got to work for your birds. I mean,
Mhm.
there's not really an easy state in the Mississippi Flyway. Even like, we hear a ton about Arkansas being awesome, but I mean, there's tons of pressure and tons of hunters, and you still got to do it on the weather and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So it's like, I feel like every state in the Mississippi Flyway, you really got to grind it out and work for your birds, unless you just have some amazing spots. So I'm sure
Yeah.
there's amazing spots in every state too. But
Oh yeah, definitely. But for the most part, especially us public land guys, I mean, I hunt probably 99% public land. So it's definitely a grind. And the weather this year, man, is not doing us any favors. I was actually talking with Maddie earlier about our plans this week, and I was like, I don't know if I'm even gonna duck hunt because it's gonna be like, I think the high on Saturday is like 80.
geez,
In the low is like 55, 60. And I
yeah,
told
that's
her,
a little
like,
rough.
dude, well, and it's not even that, the mosquitoes come back out in the marsh. So like you're just battling the mosquitoes and sweating. And then when it gets warm again like that, these gators are gonna start getting a little active again. And
Oh man.
so then, I can't take my dog if I go this weekend. And honestly, when the hunting's rough, he's about the only reason I wake up and go out sometimes. So yeah, I might just be sitting in a deer stand this weekend sweating, but
Oh yeah.
um, so for the people who haven't been to Indiana, what kind of environments, climates are you hunting in? And could you kind of like paint us a picture of your
Sure.
different
Yeah.
styles?
Yeah. So I mean, Indiana. How to describe it? I mean, we got some lakes. It's definitely a flat state. I would say that.
Yeah.
As further north, there's a lot more agriculture, fields, bean fields, corn fields, that kind of stuff. Obviously, for waterfowl, we're looking for those cornfields, especially for early season. You have a lot of dairy farmers too, so you get the silage fields cut in September, which makes for some awesome early season hunting. If you can get on a good silage field, man, you can have some banger hunts. And we had this year, man.
Yeah.
We just blew them up on that. So that's awesome. Kind of as the year goes on, you get some of these small lakes, stuff like that. That's where we hood up our wood duck holes and mallards and that kind of stuff. Farm ponds. We hunt some like cow pasture farm ponds for ducks, which can be really, really good. And then even as the season moves on, like late season, man, we got river. Indiana's great for river access and even water access in general. We don't have a lot of public land in Indiana. I think you do more and more further and further south.
Yeah.
But then, we got the FWAs, fish and wildlife areas. And for me, man, those are, we got a lot of people here in the state.
Yeah.
And not very many places to put those people, unfortunately. So those public land areas is not like public land in the Central Flyway or Kansas where you can go out and have a marsh to yourself or a marsh with like 3 or 4 groups. It's like if you go to like Kankakee, which it's not hot spotting a spot. I mean, everybody in the state knows of Kankakee. It's up in the northwest corner. And it's where they kill the most birds, of all the FWAs. And they got flooded corn blinds, all that kind of stuff. They got some timber hole blinds. And I usually make it out there once or twice a year. But I mean, they'll have days where they have like 40 blinds open and like 80 groups. So that can be rough.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you got some of those FWAs down there by you too. And I think some of those get less pressure. I'm not going to name any other ones besides that one. Just because I don't want to hotspot any of them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I've had that conversation with people down here because public land I like to talk about because, our hunting licenses and your state-run programs like that, one of their number one priorities should be maintaining public lands and making sure there's good habitat and providing to the hunters. And the wildlife. And, down here, Louisiana, like anyone who can hold a shotgun freaking duck hunts here. And there's a ton of public land here, but it's all crowded because there's so many hunters. Indiana, when it comes to waterfowl hunting, there's not nearly as many, duck hunters at all.
You know how many duck hunters are in the state of Louisiana? I'll put you on the spot here a little bit.
I'm going to pull up some Google real quick.
I'm going to guess it's probably around like 50,000, and Indiana is like just less than 10,000. So put in perspective, pretty similar size states.
So
I believe it's going to be about 5 times as many duck hunters in Louisiana.
Yeah, it's about 52,000. This is from 2020. So that was a really good guess.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've done a little research on that stuff in the past. Mississippi Flyway, Wisconsin has like 67, Minnesota has 60,000, Indiana has just under 10, Kentucky's right at 10. It's so it kind of gives you a good kind of perspective on which states have how many hunters, and Louisiana is steeped in waterfowl history and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, it's part of the culture. Everybody down there who can hold a gun is going to be out there hunting. And Indiana is not the same way, but we just don't have, per hunter. It's still pretty crowded with the amount of public land we have. But kind of getting back to like the rivers and lakes, the good thing about Indiana compared to some other states like our neighbor up north, Michigan, for their public waters, like a lake, you got to have permission from the landowner to hunt it. Indiana, you don't. Like if it's a public lake, you can go out there and hunt. So same with rivers. If it's a public river that you can fish on, they call it navigable, which that's a whole nother story on that. But if you want to, you can just go to any boat launch, go on those public waters and hunt. So that is nice since we don't have very much other opportunities for public land. Anywhere you want to go on the rivers, go for it. Anywhere you want to go on lakes, go for it. And so that's the nice thing on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, where I was going with the hunters is, in Indiana, there's a big decrease in the number of hunters, but there's a drastic decrease in the amount of public land that's available to hunters. So it's just as, if not more crowded there than, it is here with all these guys. But, and going on the waterways, dude, don't ever come to Louisiana because, like everything is private land here. Their water walls are just miserable. And there's, just since I've been here, on the Facebook groups, there's all these big arguments and like people are like putting up fences and gates and stuff across
man.
like their parts of the lake and putting no trespassing signs like in the middle of rivers. It's crazy.
Oh man, that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, they're pretty wild down here. But yeah, so when it comes to public versus private, how much what would be your kind of percentage you think as far as hunting goes?
Oh man, in Indiana, it's like um how to put it? Probably about 90% public. I don't have a lot of private spots. I guess I should probably rephrase that. I'm probably about 30% to 70 because I do have some buddies who have private land spots.
Yeah.
So, and we end up having some good hunts on like I was talking about, like cow pasture ponds. We had one in particular that we've been hunting for years that really is a good hunt almost every time we go. I mean, we just don't go unless the ducks are there. So,
Yeah.
um, stuff like that, you know. If you talk about my number of birds like per or like hunts per, it's like, yeah, maybe it might even be more than 50% of my ducks are killed on the private compared to
Yeah.
public. But I'm a weekend warrior, man. I'm gonna go every single weekend, even if one of the private ponds isn't loaded or my buddy's not going. I'm gonna find somewhere to go. And so especially like later in the season, um, when we get that late season, everything's froze up, get on the river. We got Indiana. The one thing I would say we got a pretty good deal on is our goose hunting. So late
Mhm.
season geese, man, I get a lot of public land hunts for that. So
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that is lacking down here is goose hunting. And I think I bring this up every podcast, but at least where I'm at in Louisiana, there's goose hunting is just not even an option. But it is what it is. I mean, so what are your limits? I mean, you're as far as ducks and geese go through the seasons.
yeah, so I think Indiana kind of similar to most states in the Mississippi Flyway. One thing nice this year again, they increased the goose limit to 5. I think across the Mississippi Flyway,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. So, but for me, I mean, I'm trying to think of how many times I shot 3 last year anyway. So it's not it's not going to make a huge difference, but here and there, man, I'm going to be able to keep the gun up and keep shooting at them. But it's like, man, I'm going to have to haul another bird back too. So. Um, but yeah, so it's 5 Canada geese on our ducks, 4 mallards, 2 compete hens, 3 wood ducks, 1 pintail, 2 black ducks. I've never shot either one in Indiana, so those don't matter too much. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, the most thing we shoot is the wood ducks and the mallards. So that's all we got to worry about is our 4 mallards, 3 wood ducks, and 5 geese.
Yeah, so I mean, limits are pretty typical of most states. We've came across a couple where you start getting at like 8, 9 ducks, but most places seem to be about 6, 4 mallards, pretty standard. And the seasons, so you said you open at least up north. You guys open kind of late October. When's your season end?
Yeah, so that's coming up on us quick. I mean, Indiana North Zone, we have 2 splits, and each zone has different splits. I'm not as familiar with the Central and South Zone, but the North Zone, I know what the dates are this year. Like I said, I think we opened up October 24th. We're gonna end the Sunday after this next one, which I think is December 12th. And then we have our 9-day split, which can be fire, man. But if if the temperatures stay hot, it's probably not going to be. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping it gets real cold, everything freezes up, and I'll be happy. So our second split, 9 days, goes from this year goes from December 26th through the 3rd of January, and then we're done with ducks. So then after that, if I want to shoot any, I gotta travel.
Yeah. So with that being said, do you duck hunt? I mean, you obviously travel quite a bit during the season, but would most of your duck hunts be there in Indiana, you think?
Man, it's been more 50-50 here in recent years. In the last couple of years, I've just been going up to Michigan more
Yeah.
and more. I have some good buddies up there that I've started hunting with, and we just have a ton of fun. And I've been expanding my permissions up there too. So
Yeah.
I'll do a lot of that, and it's kind of nice because part of it too, I can jump down on weekdays and hit up some of my spots before work, and then I'm not burning those up for the weekend. Then I can jump up there in Michigan for the weekend when I have more ability to travel around and all that. So
Yeah.
it ends up being pretty good both ways. So I would say, I mean, I still probably, I don't know, man. It'd be a good test to kind of go back and see every year. Up till this year, I know that I've hunted Indiana more than any other state.
Yeah.
But this year, I'm not 100% sure. I've got up in Michigan quite a bit.
Well, I mean, you got to go where they're at.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
how
having the
many?
duck bus too, man, that's been that opens some doors because
Yeah.
I can like go up the night before and just park at the boat launch, throw some wood in the wood burner, sleep, wake up just in time to put the boat in and get after it. So I mean that opens up possibilities for me as far as like if I wanted to go 4 hours, man, it's like, and you want to be at the boat launch at 4:30, it's like I gotta leave at 12:30. I mean, that's a little
Yeah.
bit rougher than leaving at like 8, getting there at noon. Wow, midnight, and and getting in the boat launch. I'd rather sleep from midnight to 4 opposed to trying to sleep from 8 to midnight or something like that. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, well, because that ends up being you sleep from like 11 to midnight.
Yeah, exactly.
The duck bus, man, I think it's sweet, but I imagine you get some pretty interesting looks throughout the season.
Oh man, I got a pretty funny story. So, I took it up this last weekend, up to Michigan, and we're hunting up there. And perfect. Even if I'm gonna like hunt the morning and hunt the evening and be out in between, it just gives you a place to be out of the weather. You don't have to like sit in your truck in the front
Yeah.
seat or find like a restaurant. I mean, because and for those of you that don't know, I mean, I rebuilt a school bus, a short bus, which I get lots of jokes about that too. But I rebuilt it into a more or less a duck camp on wheels, a little camper, whatever you want to call it. It's got a couple bunk beds. It's got a table and seats. It's got a wood burner and a counter. And that's about it, so it's perfect. It's got a back deck, so I can put Chief's gunner kennel on the back of that, and then I put a hitch on the back of that so I can pull the duck torpedo. So I mean, it's a sick rig. When you look out there and you see this awesome sneak boat getting pulled by a short bus with a trailer with a dog kennel on it, and I do get a lot of looks. So, anyways, we went out there for the hunt, hunted in the morning, and we did pretty good. And I decided I was going to stick around and try to finish off my mallard limit for the evening. And in between, I decided I was going to go knock on some doors. I'd put some Onyx pins all across different places, different lakes I wanted to get permission at. So I did that. I went and started knocking on doors. And before that, I'm like, man, should I take the duck bus? I'm like, screw it. Like, I'm just gonna take the duck bus, even though when I roll up in people's yards, like they're gonna look out their window and see the school bus with a duck boat on the back of it. And for people that don't hunt, even people that hunt, it turns heads. So the first one I got to, the guy's like, my wife looked out the window and she's like, why is there a bus in our driveway? It's like, I don't know. But I got to know from that guy. He had deer hunters leasing and all that kind of stuff. But I got to another farm, stopped there, and sure enough, the farmer rolls up behind me, and he's in a big dump truck with just loaded down with firewood. And I could tell just from the get-go, he's like, what is going on? Because I got this, the same thing. I got the boat behind me and I got the school bus, and it's just you just don't ever see it. I could just tell he's confused. I'm talking to him, trying to be super friendly. And eventually, he kind of warmed up. He jumped out of the truck, started talking to me, and he's asking all kinds of questions about the bus. And and it gives me a kick out of it too. But sure enough, I actually did get permission. So I got permission for the spot I wanted. And he's like, hey man, if you ever shoot a duck, I'd like to try it. I'm like, dude, I got a duck in the boat right here. You can have it. So
Come on in the bus, man.
Yeah. So got the permission. He got to keep one of the ducks, got his number, all that good stuff. And now I'll have duck permission. I got it in the duck bus. So it's like, I feel like that's like a new achievement. You got to go around not only get permission, but go around being the crazy person driving a bus around a duck hunt.
Well, at least they know you're serious. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, what when I go asking for permission, there's like two different approaches because some it's like, do you go and you look like an obvious hunter, or do you try and dress kind of nicely and be professional about it? And I think it just depends on the people. Some people prefer one or over the other,
Yeah.
and I think I always pick the wrong one.
See, I've always been of the mind, like looking professional, like you're saying, like maybe not even professional, but just looking like well put together. Like you don't want to go,
Yeah.
um, just looking like if you're all dirty or something, change your clothes, that kind of stuff. You don't want to look like you're homeless. You don't want to go there looking like you just got off a hunt either, but like clean your face paint off, that kind of stuff. But here, the last few times that I've gone around in Michigan trying to get permission, it's just after a hunt, and so I'll be wearing like wader pants, and or not like the wader, but like the sweatpants you wear inside of them.
Yeah.
Be wearing those. Be wearing um. Why is it slipping my mind? Crocs. There we go. Wearing Crocs, sweatpants, and usually like a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or something. So, and that's been working out good for me. So maybe I've been wrong all these years. Like you said, that's the more casual look.
Well, I might have to try. I guess I'm gonna have to write that down in my bag of tricks. I guess the next door, I'm just gonna go in sweats and a hoodie and some Crocs and try my luck. I'll let you know if that one works out.
Yeah. I think it's just luck. It's a numbers game because I feel like it's a 1 out of 100 kind of thing. Knocking 100 doors, get one permission.
Yeah.
But man, the last like 3 weeks, I've locked down like 5 more permissions. It's like I was like 5 for 20, which is like unheard of, unbelievable.
Well, maybe just after years of striking out, you finally hit a good patch. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm hoping
I'm not
mine
nervous
comes
anymore.
around.
I think that might be the key. I don't come across nervous. I'm just asking and expecting a no, and then when I get the yes,
Yeah, I understand. So how many states have you hunted in, man?
Not a ton, honestly. I'm trying to think. I've hunted in Kentucky, Indiana, Michigan, and Kansas. So just a handful.
Okay. What out of those, what's your favorite state?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I think I'm gonna go. Man, that's a hard one. If I had to pick one to live in, and like, and family and all that kind of stuff didn't necessarily matter. I mean, I'm gonna stick in Indiana probably for life, just because of family. And probably not. Indiana's not the best waterfowl state. We get it done.
Yeah.
We work hard, grind it out. But oh man, for the waterfowl, man, Kansas is hard to beat when you get those fronts coming in. But I do love Michigan too, man. I've been having a lot of fun in Michigan and exploring some of those marshes. But I feel like Kansas is the same deal, just better.
Yeah. I've never been to Kansas, but I've heard plenty of war stories about it. So it's on my to-do list, and I watch all the videos and I'm just like, wow, yeah, I'd love to do that. So one day when the money is justifiable, I'll make a trip up there.
Oh yeah.
But
I feel like it's anywhere in the Central Flyway. If you go anywhere in the Central Flyway and you get the right weather, it's just unbelievable the number of ducks compared to what we see in the Mississippi Flyway. It's just you go down there, and Kansas has like similar number of hunters to Indiana. I think it's somewhere around like 18,000 hunters in Kansas, which is way bigger than Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like it on a map, but put them next to each other. It's as far as like the area has. It's pretty big state, so not that many people. And then when you get the ducks coming in, like I said, on one of those fronts, it's just unbelievable. But the other thing to talk about with Kansas is almost 50% of the hunters out there are out of staters. So that's a crazy stat too on those Central Flyway states.
Yeah, for sure. And it leads you to wonder if they're going to start, kind of wrenching down on their non-resident hunting. Similar to Arkansas, Arkansas really hammered down on like their non-resident licenses, and if you're a non-resident waterfowler, you can only come like certain parts of the season, and you can only use certain public grounds, and so it
Yep.
makes me wonder if Kansas is going to end up going that route one day. But like you said, um, there's not that many resident hunters, so I don't know if their voice would be loud enough to be heard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Where
that
our
that is an interesting thing for sure. I don't know the exact number of out of state hunters from Arkansas, but I'd almost guess it'd be pretty similar to the number, like as far as percentage wise.
yeah.
Again, I have no idea, so I maybe I shouldn't even guess, but I just know there's a ton of out of state hunters that go to Arkansas, but they're already selling somewhere in the 50,000s for number of licenses sold per state in that state.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I think that's the big difference between Kansas, because even if you take out of staters and in state hunters, and then those out of state hunters aren't there all the time, but it's like, what is it, 36,000 hunters then in
Yeah.
that state. So if I had to guess, gut feeling, I don't think they're going to do it. I mean, that the out of state money is pretty valuable, even if it's going to adversely affect the in-state hunters, which again are paying a lot too with their taxes. So
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
definitely a hard one, but I don't foresee that happening right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Most likely, big Arkansas is just it's the name almost anymore. It's just Arkansas is like on everyone's list of places they want to hunt,
Hmm.
and every year people are booking trips to go to Arkansas, and I think it finally started getting just so overran that they were like, hey man, we got to do something.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially you see all the crazy videos of like all these guys on public land like lined up waiting for 4 o'clock to launch their boats off, and that's a different breed of people.
Yeah, I
What's
think it's the
your
unique factor with Arkansas too, though. It's
yeah
like, because a lot of people we have on our podcast, we do the lightning round. One thing we ask them, favorite type of habitat they hunt, and man, for those guys, some of those big name guys, they get the ability to travel everywhere, and it's like almost every single one of them says timber. I'm like, man, what am I missing here? Because I've never done it. I've never been in the Arkansas timber. And that's the only, it's in that area. There's other states
yeah
that have right in that area that have similar setups, but it's like that Arkansas timber is very unique to their state. So, I got to try it at some point.
yeah for sure. It's on my to-do list this year. I got an
Awesome.
Arkansas license, so yeah, we had Freddie come on, Freddie King. He did Arkansas, and
Nice.
that man loves his timber hunting. uh and him explaining it, just it finally pushed me over the edge. I've been talking about it, and then finally after that podcast, like the next day, I bought my Arkansas license.
There
Like,
you go.
yep, I got to knock it out. But I'm waiting for later in the season. I'm hoping when all the weekend warriors kind of go back into their nests and stop chasing the birds. That's when I'm gonna slide up there when it's not so crazy.
You need to get
Uh,
colder. That's the thing that pushes those guys out, I feel like.
yeah. Well, not this weekend. It's gonna be about 80 degrees up there this weekend too. Um, so what's your dream state to hunt? What's the number one on your list?
Oh man, I'd probably say Montana. Just to just to be a little bit different. I feel like I hear
Yeah.
a lot of answers. But Montana is a state I've been intrigued with just for a long time. Kind of a hobby I had that was my number one hobby before I got into duck hunting was fly fishing. So, Montana is an awesome state for that. Turns out it's
Yeah.
an awesome state for duck hunting too. But it's just a really, really cool state. And I've done my research on it too, and there's great waterfowl hunting to be had up there. So I've always wanted to travel out there. I can just imagine, getting out there and piling up some greenheads.
Yeah, for sure. And beautiful, beautiful country up there.
Yes, yeah.
Um, so where, I guess, on your scale, since you've like you said, you've only hunted probably 4 states or so, where would you rank Indiana amongst the ranks as far as a waterfowl state goes?
Man, that's a tough one, and I hate to say it. It's just because it's my home turf. I don't want to do anybody do anybody dirty in Indiana. by saying it's not the best state, but I mean, just by the numbers, it really isn't. We gotta push hard for it, and it's just part of what we got to do to deal with it,
Yep.
and there's nothing wrong with that. I love Indiana, I love the state, and I love hustling after birds here, but it's tough, and it's one thing to be tough and have like smart, educated birds. It's another thing to be tough and have no birds, just not an opportunity.
Yeah.
So I think that's where Indiana falls a lot. It's like we got to wait for the right weather. And when we lose our birds, man, it's like there's nothing you can do to get them.
Yep.
And that's the hard part for Indiana. And that's just ducks. For geese, though, I will say that we have a pretty good state. As far as it ranks, by the numbers, we're somewhere around like 14th or 15th in the country for goose harvest per hunter. That type of stat there. So
Yeah.
as far as that goes, man, I think that I can't complain about Indiana goose hunting. We have a great early season and a great late season. In between, I just kind of pick them here and there where I can on the duck hunts. I don't target them except for that early and late season, just kind of my preference. So I would say that's Indiana's saving grace. We really do have better than average goose hunting. But as far as the duck hunting goes, we have a lot worse than average.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I don't think you'll offend anyone. The only person that I think we offended one person from Idaho when we did their podcast. I had a guy reach out to me and tell me like, "Hey, man, stop telling everyone how great Idaho is," and so I pissed him
Secrets
off,
out.
I guess. But yeah, spilling the secret. So now every episode, I make sure and remind everyone to go to Idaho.
I like to remind people to go to Nebraska because Nebraska is the best waterfowl state out there, and we need in certain parts of it. I can't hotspot it on purpose, but you know what I'm doing. If you know, you know.
So my final question for you, man. What's your go-to snack in the mornings if you're heading out to the duck blinds?
Man, I don't even know. I'd go-to snack. Man, one thing I like to do is I like to bring a grill out there with me. This isn't a snack. So I go a little, it's kind of like everything I do, man. I'm all or nothing. Like I don't bring a snack, but if I do bring something, I bring the grill, I bring eggs, I bring duck sausage that I have this Amish butcher that lives near me. He lives near me. I have him make it. So I go all out and we make duck and egg burritos. So that's my go-to. If I'm gonna bring that, that's what I'm gonna bring. If snacks, it's like if I don't bring that, I don't even bring snacks.
Yeah. So you just skip the Pop-Tart and just go straight to Denny's.
That's right. Yeah.
I can't blame you there. We last year when we did a lot of hunting out of some blinds, we would take the stove and make burritos and random breakfasts. But this year, I haven't. I've been back on my Pop-Tart kick. So
I haven't done as well either with making the breakfast. Previous years, I was just like every time it was just part of my getting ready gig, getting the grill and all that. But this year I guess I've been a little more simplistic. I don't know what it is, honestly. But I probably need to get back after it.
Well, man, like I said at the beginning of this, I appreciate you for taking your time out of your schedule to come on here and give me an hour. It's awesome to talk to you. Like I said, I love the Duck Gun podcast. I love what you guys do on the YouTube channel, and yeah, thank you, Juan, for the great content you provide, and I know that I've watched several of your videos in the past that I've definitely picked up a thing or two from, and that's what it's all about, man. So I appreciate that, and thanks for the Duck Gun podcast. You've got me through plenty of long road trips. You guys, you and Elliot. You guys make a great team. So, and that's awesome. I'm glad I got to learn the fun fact about you watching Elliot's videos, and then here you guys are now. So
watching his videos before I even started. So yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Anytime. I'm glad to come on, talk about duck hunting, that kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm passionate about it, and it's cool meeting like-minded people, and good luck building your podcast and all that kind of stuff you're doing with your content too.
For sure, man. I appreciate it. Just take it easy, man. Have a good, hopefully, you have a safe and successful rest of your season, even though it's coming to an end quick for you guys.
For sure. You too, man.
Well, guys, like I said, if you haven't already, if you somehow have never seen Duck Gun Chronicles, head over to YouTube right now and hit the subscribe button and check out some of his content. Like I said, great dude, and they make some awesome stuff. And I've definitely watched plenty of his videos before, and you can learn all kinds of stuff. You can watch some killer hunts, like you talked about Chief. What an awesome dog Chief is. Just very entertaining, man. And if you guys like my podcast, you would love their podcast. It's leaps and bounds ahead of mine. So check out the Duck Gun podcast as well. But as always, I appreciate y'all for listening. Hopefully, you guys enjoy this 50 States of Waterfowl. We are actually heading up to Kansas next week for that episode. So it should be pretty fun. We should have Vang back. I know a lot of you guys like Vang more than you like me. I don't take offense to that or anything, but it should be a good one. Again, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.